Animal Man number 13, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Timothy Green II and Steve Pugh. This is part one of half of RotWorld. This is the Red Kingdom side of things, dealing with the animal, the red stuff. And we, of course, left off in Swamp Thing number 12, the end of the prologue to RotWorld, with Anton Arcane basically taking Animal Man and Swamp Thing out of the game for a whole year while the rot just ran wild. So we pick up with Buddy. He's coming out of the sky. Somehow the rot is up there, and when he comes to, the world is in just utter disrepair, and he recognizes it as Earth. And as he's looking around trying to figure out, like, what in the hell just happened here, he looks up and sees a giant bird-like figure coming out of the sky. And it turns out it's Zombie Hawkman. So briefly, he's like, Hawkman, wait, it's me, I'm on your side. And then he realizes it's Zombie Hawkman, and he's like, okay, well, I guess it's time to fight then. So he goes and attacks Zombie Hawkman, but of course, the rot, he's able to just, absorb the blows, regenerate, no big deal. So at that point, reinforcements arrive in the form of Steel from Superman, Beast Boy, and Black Orchid, who I believe the only appearance has been Justice League Dark, and she's a shapeshifter, whereas the other two are pretty obvious. So they come in, and they attack Hawkman, and basically take him out entirely. And they lay out, it's just like, hi, I'm Steel, this is Black Orchid, this is Beast Boy, who are you? And he's like, I'm Buddy Baker, Animal Man. They're like, okay, but seriously, who are you? It's like, no, I'm Buddy Baker, Animal Man. He's like, okay, you're going to have to come with us, sir. Let's go. So then we cut back to a year before when, because Cliff just disappeared with his grandmother not noticing, when Ellen and Maxine get back to the hotel room, they're like, okay, well, Maxine, I know I told you not to use your powers, but can you tell us where Cliff is? And she's like, yeah, I can feel him, but he's like close to one of those rotten guys. And so Ellen throws on her shirt and is like, all right, everyone back in the van, we're going to find my son. So back to now, because now is technically a year in the future. It will get confusing every time I say it. So cut to RotWorld. Basically, they're just trying to confirm. They're like, okay, but like, you're actually Buddy Baker? And he's like, yes, why don't you guys trust me? It's like, it's because, you disappeared like a year ago. And he's like, a year? What? We were in there for like an hour. And it's like, yeah, I don't know what happened. But basically, he goes through the whole thing of the rot showed up and it just started taking over. And no matter what, all of the heroes just fell to it. Nobody was able to survive. And once the more super powerful ones got taken over by the rot, it was just all the easier for it to dominate the rest of the world. And they even say that like villains were becoming heroes as long as the only ones to survive were the people who had a connection to either the red or the green. So like Beast Boy and apparently Black Orchid have a connection to the red, whereas people like Poison Ivy have a connection to the green. And so they were able to survive past everybody else, and they're the only ones who are left. Also, Steel's able to survive because despite the fact he was a man, he downloaded his consciousness into an AI, like, full robot, and now he's just a robot. So, yeah. But anyway, they're like, okay, well, we're on our way to the red. And when they get there, we see that it's this little beacon of life in just the arid desert of, I think, Louisiana? I could be wrong. So then we go to before RotWorld, and they're driving down the road, and all of a sudden they see Cliff in the middle of the road just standing there. And they slam on the brakes to get out. They're like, Cliff, are you okay? And he snaps his neck around all unnaturally and freaks out his mom. And we see that he's already been infected with the rot. So again, back to RotWorld. Buddy's like, oh, hey, if we're in the red, I need to talk to the totems. Like, they'll understand what to do. And Beast Boy and all of them are like, yeah, the totems are the red. Like, when they saw the rot was going to take over, they basically turn their bodies into a living like place that we could be. They're not sentient anymore, but they protect us. So yeah, they're gone. The totems are gone. But we do see that some people in the red managed to make it here, including the shepherd from all those issues ago. And he's like, oh, Buddy Baker, so nice to see you again. He's like, yeah, cool. Hey, shepherd, do you know where Maxine is? Or like my wife or my son? And he's like, oh, they're dead. I'm sorry I have to be the one that breaks it to you. But then John Constantine, who apparently also survived, steps up and he's like, yeah, no, this is all your fault, Buddy Baker. Everything here is all your fault. And he's like, that wasn't my fault. I wasn't even here. He's like, exactly. Maxine, She had the power to do something, but she wasn't ready. You were supposed to be there. You were supposed to protect her. And he's getting all up on his case for that. So then we cut one last time to before RotWorld. Cliff is going after his mom, and eventually, like, she gets through to him and says, like, no, Cliff, please stop. And he's like, stop. Mom, I'm so scared. Please help me. And Ellen runs up, gives her a hug. But then he spits out this, as best I can tell you, it just looks like a glob of flesh. And it hits the ground and immediately latches onto Ellen and goes down her throat. And we see that now both of them have been infected with the rot. Oopsie. So yeah, no, it's a lot to take on all at once. I mean, we already had as pre-established in Swamp Thing 12 that this was set a year afterwards, but they really spent a lot of time in this re-establishing, like, what? We've been gone a year? Like, yeah, clearly. I guess that technically because it was in the prologue, they just wanted to make sure the people who were jumping in at part 1, like, got it, but I don't know, it seemed a bit unnecessary for me. Art-wise, great. I don't have a problem with it. It does feel like we are getting the backstory to how the rot spread via the flashbacks or the current day, depending on how you want to call it. And then, getting a feel for what the world is in RotWorld. So overall, it's setting up very well. It's just setting up the stakes of, everyone's gone except for, like, who you see on the page. That's it. So big stakes, big rewards. Overall, I'd say this is an 8. It's a very strong start. I definitely am looking forward to the rest of RotWorld. Obviously, Swamp Thing has a concurrent storyline focusing on the green, and I'm very interested to see how RotWorld turns out.